I'm going to turn the time over to Vice Chair Davis. She's going to handle the committee assignments. And it's going to take me a minute to find I'm hurrying. I got to get to summary of actions. Finance. Right there, right on the top. Okay. All right. I don't have to look that hard.
So this is the first time I've chaired this section, so I would ask for your patience and understanding if I mess it all up. Well, let's start at our Finance Committee report recommendations, and we'll start with Committee Chair Huntsman.
Okay. For finance, or finance that we call it, our first action is under 11.2, which is the committee moves that the board approve Board Policy 1002 Draft 2 on second and final reading. However, we do have a motion. I
Okay.
believe that motion is for a draft 4 from Board Member Moss, if I remember right.
So did you just make the motion, though, for
Well,
draft
it
2?
came out of committee. This is
Okay.
process. So if something
So
comes out
he
of
needs to
committee, it has to
amend.
go before the full board. So you can.
Okay, so
repeat
we
it.
have a motion on the floor that the board approves Board Policy 1002 Draft 2 on second and final reading. We don't need a second, right? for
So
these?
you don't have a second.
Okay.
And then,
We have Board Member Moss?
Board Member Belknap also has a couple, but I'm happy to make mine. Want me to go in that order. So I move that the board adopt draft number 4, which is in the packet, including amendments outlining the questions that will be asked. And somebody may have to help me walk through which of these are brand new. I think the amendment, let's scrap that and try this. I move that the board adopt as an amendment to Board Policy 1002, the language on section V4, which states this policy incorporates by reference the form found in Appendix A titled Reporting Burden and Fiscal Impact Estimate, which is the form staff will use to provide the reporting impact statement described in subsection V1. And that amendment then would include what is attached as Appendix A.
okay.
So that's like the longest motion I've ever heard. Thanks a lot for my
I
first day
struck
of
the
doing
first
this.
part.
So I'm trying to help you. So
Okay.
we get a proposed amendment to draft 4,
And we need a second on that.
and you need a second.
Do we have a second on a proposed amendment to draft 4? Okay,
Then discussion.
okay, do we have discussion to this amendment?
So can I speak to the motion?
Motion,
Or
please,
To the
yes.
amendment? Okay. So the language that came out of our committee included the adoption of questions that were framed up in HB 42, run by Representative Pulsifer in the last session. What was included were questions about the estimated impact of any proposed reporting requirement included in a rule, and the estimated fiscal impact on an LEA. Subsection 2 indicated that reporting impact would include the cost to an LEA and the time to an LEA, and the disproportionate impact that the report might have on an LEA that is small or rural, or other factors that might have a disproportionate impact. Our staff helpfully prepared an appendix that fleshed out what questions would be asked and answered in order to assess that impact. And my amendment simply formalizes the incorporation of that form into the policy itself. So this is a form we reviewed in finance. I think we were in favor of that when we moved to bring this forward on first reading. But my amendment brings those questions in. Those questions are these, and I'll just explain a little bit for those who aren't in finance. A couple of bills came out of the session. One of those was a backward-looking review of reporting requirements, assurances, et cetera. And I had questions about what's the purpose of the report? What is it accomplishing? Is it being done the most efficient way? Are we gathering this information elsewhere already? House Bill 42, looking forward, only required us to ask about the fiscal and time impact. But we discussed in finance that it would be helpful going forward if those broader questions were also asked and answered before we as a board approved a new rule that would impose a reporting requirement, which would include an assurance or a survey. So this form does that. It would require us going forward, before we impose that requirement on an LEA, to ask and answer, what is the report's purpose? What is the entity required to submit? Which entity is required to submit the report, the frequency of the report, the cost, and any disproportionate impact on size, location, but also what are the upfront or initial costs for reports, such as staff training or updating processes? Is the information in the report otherwise available or could be obtained another way? And can accountability or transparency be achieved through a means other than the report? So the point of this was, as we look backward and are working through to kind of clean up some of the reporting duty, to make sure going forward we don't end up in the same place 10 years from now, where we've asked and answered questions about fiscal impact and time impact, but we haven't done kind of a holistic question of, are we already gathering this somewhere else? Is this the most efficient way to do this? Is the juice worth the squeeze, as we say? So that's the point of the amendment, is to formally incorporate this form, which our staff really helpfully put together, as part of the policy on a forward-going basis. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you. And I am understanding that that is incorporated into draft 4. So
Right.
seeing no other lights, we have a motion on the floor to amend the motion to adopt draft 4 of Board Policy 1002. Please vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, Chair Huntsman.
The other motion out of committee is -753. I'm not used to this. Okay, the motion from the committee is that the committee moves that the board approve R277-753 repeal, which is the LEA reporting requirements for sections 504 students on second and final reading.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to move that the board approves R277-753 repeal LEA reporting requirements for section 504 students on second and final reading. Any discussion to the motion? Board Member Lear.
Maybe somebody can tell me, the board chair or the committee chair or someone, what's the impetus? It seems like it would be helpful for the USBE to know about 504 students and what their problems are, or what the issues are, or how many there are that are served.
Chair Huntsman.
Invite staff back up to tell you why the repeal.
Okay, who would you like to come up?
Is Ben, Angie, Jeff? We don't have very many people left.
We're 0 for 3. We're Jeff Van Holten, or no? No?
Oh,
Board Member Hutchings.
she can speak to it.
I could take a stab at it.
Oh, we've got
I could be corrected.
Dr. Voorhees. Why don't you, do you want to, or do you want to hear Dr. Voorhees?
I'll just say, my understanding was mostly this is a financial report, that LEAs were supposed to track funding that was used for 504s. And I believe the long-term intention was to possibly then be able to go back to the state and get funding for 504 programs. I'm not sure why it never came to that, but I know it is a bit of a burden to try to track exactly how much funding is used for 504, so.
I have the answer.
Thank you, Chair Huntsman.
House Bill 42
Oh,
repealed it. That's why. Thank you. There was really strong justification why we can't have it in place anymore. And I
So-
thought there was more than there were some things included in that House bill. Thank you.
So we have no choice here, really, but Board Member Cannon?
Can I just follow up? Sorry. Just
Yes,
for-
follow up.
Just, I think it's sort of unfortunate. This seems to be information that would be helpful to the special ed department in working with LEAs. I understand we don't have choice, but I think of all the many reports, this information, because there's no funding to support 504 accommodations, it would be super helpful to know what we are leaving LEAs to bear the burden of in a bad sentence form. So, there's a comment.
Thank you. Board Member Cannon?
I had the same concerns that Carol had. And another one that is, 504 is all federal, right? And do we have the ability to repeal information about a federal 504 program but with the state law? Maybe, Dr. Voorhees, could you address that?
Dr. Voorhees, will you come up, please?
Plus, I agree with Carol. I thought it looked like there was great information there that we were deleting.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So we don't actually report that information to the federal government. That the information about who gets a 504 plan, what's in the 504 plan, all of that information is maintained at the LEA level. It doesn't come to us. We don't send it to the feds. And we don't receive any federal dollars to implement those plans. And the impetus for the report was exactly as stated, that the legislature was considering if funds were available to provide funding to LEAs for the implementation of 504 plans, because they have to be implemented with general education funds. Special education funds cannot be used for that. And that it was never funded, and then it was repealed, so.
I get it. I'm good. Thank you.
And excuse me, I forgot to introduce myself. Leah Voorhees, Assistant Superintendent of Student Support. Excuse me.
Thank you, Dr. Voorhees. Board Member Lear, do you have a follow-up?
No, well, yes, I do. If we're ever again to ask for this money, we won't have any data about how necessary it is. And I know that districts, LEAs struggle all the time with meeting these accommodations, and some of them are not inexpensive. And I'm also afraid that it's going to further discourage LEAs from maybe doing what they should do with 504 plans. And so that's just, it's more of a comment of concern. So thank you for letting me make that.
Thank you, Board Member Hutchings. Do you have a?
Just a quick question. Do you know why the information from these reports was never used to figure out any kind of funding request?
Vice Chair, respond. I don't know exactly. I do know that we did share the information with Public Education Appropriation Committee, but it didn't ever rise to the top of the priority list, is my very best guess of having participated in those discussions. So it was discussed, the information was shared, it just didn't rise to the top of the priority list for funding.
Thank you. Seeing no other lights, we have a motion on the floor that the board approves R277-753, repeal LEA reporting requirements for Section 504 students on second and final reading. Please vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Those opposed? No. Contrarian today. Passes. The motion passes. Chair Huntsman?
Okay, next is regarding the charter school closure reserve account. As many of you are aware, the legislature started that account, and we have legislative requirements that we have to put in rule. So as a result of that, the Finance Committee took action on this, and the motion before the board is that the board approve R277-556 Charter School Closure Reserve Account Draft 1 on second and final reading.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. I'm trying to get back to it. What number was it again?
Oh,
It was
it
out
was
of, we skipped one.
11.5 on the summary.
So we skipped one. That's okay. We'll need to go back
I
to
skip
4
one?
after this
Oh.
one. That's okay. I'll just repeat this one for now.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. We have a motion on the floor that the board approves R277-556 Charter School Closure Revenue Reserve Account, Draft 1, on second and final reading. Discussion to the motion? Seeing no lights, please vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. Chair Huntsman?
I found the one I skipped.
Good, thank you. So, board members, we're back on number 4.
Okay. The committee moves that the board approve R277-113, Local Education Agency, LEA, Fiscal and Auditing Policies, Draft 1, on second and final reading.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor that the board approves R277-113, Local Education Agency Fiscal and Auditing Policies, Draft 1, on second and final reading. Is there discussion to the motion? Thank you. Please vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Chair Huntsman?
Okay, the next one is that the, up here, okay, there it is, that the committee moved that the board approve the Regional Education Service Agency, or RESA's, budgets for the school fiscal year 22. This is another first, but that's not in the motion.
Okay.
Did you find that?
Yes, but we skipped one again.
How
No,
did
oh,
I-
no, we didn't.
what am I
You
doing?
did number 5, sorry. That's my wrong, my bad. Okay, we have a motion on the floor that the board approves the Regional Educational Services Agency RESA budgets for SFY '22. Is there discussion to the motion? Seeing none, please vote. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you. Chair Huntsman?
The next one, I believe I'm in sequence. Sorry I didn't print this off. I probably like the paper better than.
You're on 7
Than this.
now.
This is that the committee moved that the board recommend that the legislature maintain the early warning pilot program in Utah code and not allow the program to be repealed.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor that the board recommends, I think that should be the committee recommends, the legislature maintain the early warning pilot program in Utah code and not allow the program to be repealed. I was wrong, it's board. Discussion to the motion? Seeing none, please, please, Board Member Earl?
Just real quick, this is the Panorama program, is that right? Anyone?
Yes.
Okay.
It was gonna
Seeing no-
Sunset.
Okay. It's going to sunset. So seeing no further discussion, please vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Board Member Klein and Board Member Earl are no. Chair Huntsman?
Okay, the next motion is the committee moves that the board direct staff to apply for the waivers before the September 1, 2021 deadline. I thought we had something different there. Just one second, I might have to add a word.
This is the ESSER.
On the ESSER funds.
Are we on the ESSER? Or am I off now?
Is that in yours?
Oh, that was information.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. And can you restate that again?
Okay, I'll state it different because it's not clean in here. The committee moves that the board direct staff to apply for the ESSER rep waivers. I just lost it. Oh, before the September 1, 2021 deadline.
Thank you. There's a
We're still
motion on
good.
the
We
floor
can
that
make
the
it work.
board directs staff to apply for the ESSER waivers before the September 1, 2021 deadline. Is that how you changed the motion?
Okay. I think, did I get it correct this time?
Yeah,
ESEA.
Oh.
The board
ESSA,
directs-
Sorry.
The board directs staff to apply for the ESEA waivers before the September 1st, 2021 deadline. Is there a discussion to the motion? Seeing none, please vote. Those in favor? Those opposed? Chair Huntsman?
Oh, I was an aye. Oh, did you get it?
Yeah, you're up.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I'm trying to
Oh,
make
I
this
didn't
work
say,
for
I
me.
messed, because I didn't say the motion passed. Now, Chair Huntsman.
I go too fast and with this mouse and it takes off. Okay, the committee moves that the board authorize $48,707.17 to Box Elder School District for out-of-state tuition reimbursement pursuant to 53F-2-3048. You want me to list all those? 53G-6-305-3A and R277-421.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor that the board authorizes $48,707,017. Am I wrong? I hear a lot of people talking. Sorry, 48,000. Thank you. I'm so.
There's fireworks going off in Box Elder.
That would have been like a really great day for them. I'm sorry to ruin it. Thank you. The board authorizes $48,707.17 to Box Elder School District for out-of-state tuition reimbursement pursuant to 53F-2-3048, 53G-6-3053A, and R277-421. Is there a discussion to the motion? Board Member Lear?
I could recuse myself. I do work for Box Elder, but since this is statutorily authorized, I'm going to go ahead and vote. And
Okay.
Don't feel like have a conflict or a reason to not.
Yep, that's
Thank
fine.
you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, please vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. Chair Huntsman?
You know, I'd love to do more, but I think that's everything that we completed
Is
in our
that it?
agenda after looking over the ones that we've skipped.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Chair